What's up? I'm B, and whether you are watching this on YouTube or you are listening to the podcast, I hope you are having an amazing day. Today, we are finally diving into the crossover of the month, because it's not like the crossover of the century. This is not my Super Bowl, but Milena Cicciotti went on Britney Dawn's podcast, Chiseled and Called, and they did an episode called Let's Talk About Modesty with Milena Cicciotti. And here is the description box, which I just thought was kind of interesting, and so I wanted to read it to you, because there's a phrase in there that made me go, It says, if you've been on a modesty journey or have been feeling convicted lately over the way you dress, this episode is for you. We are diving into the somewhat controversial topic of modesty today, and I have no doubt this is going to encourage you to press in a little bit more. I've been embarking on a beautiful journey with him in regards to modesty, and along the way, I'm realizing that everyone has different convictions. That's the beauty of this journey. I have the honor of chatting with a dear friend of mine, Milena Cicciotti, as we dive into topics such as how the way that you dress are the kinds of people you will attract, convictions over filler and Botox, practical steps to take on your modesty journey, learning to yield to convictions that come over time, and honoring God with every aspect of your life, even the way you dress. Now, the thing in there that gave me pause was Britney calling Milena her dear friend, because I have not seen any crossover between the two of them prior to this. It's totally possible that Milena and Britney are friends behind the scenes. They've somehow gotten in touch with each other. They've started talking. They confide in each other, and they have a great relationship. And if that's the case, great. But we've seen how Britney is with her other friendships with people like Farron, Kelly, Emma, Christy. It's like, these are my friends, and here are my friends again. And have I told you that these are my friends? And have you seen my friends? Because these are my friends, and what a blessing of friendship these women who are my friends have been to me. So it's just odd to me that I haven't seen Milena and Britney interacting publicly prior to this, even if it's just reposting, because they live in different states. Like Milena's in Michigan, I believe. She's in the Midwest, and then Britney is in Texas. So yeah, they're not going to hang out all the time, but they're not like cross-posting each other. They're not sharing each other's content. So I don't know. It just her saying like my good friend was like, oh, is that so? Okay. But in any case, Milena did go on Britney Dawn's podcast, and Britney also went on Milena and her husband Jordan's podcast called As For Me in My House. They talked about pregnancy, fertility, and pregnancy loss. So they have officially collaborated, and today we are finally reacting to the podcast episode from Chiseled and Called with Britney Dawn and Milena Cicciotti. Let's talk about modesty after we do Win for the Week. If you are new around here, a win for the week is just where you share something positive that happened to you over the past week that you would consider a win. Big or small, whatever it may be. If it made you smile, if it made you feel grateful, if it brought you joy. If you consider it a win, I want to hear about it and celebrate with you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave that in the comment section down below. And if you are listening to the podcast on Spotify, you can leave it in the Q&A for this particular episode. My win for the week is getting a new pajama set. Something about me is that if I have matching pajama sets, I feel like my life is 100% together. And so slowly over time, I've been trying to replace all of my loungewear or stuff that I sleep in from just like random pieces to actual matching sets. And so I got another new one this week. I love it. It's super comfy. And again, I feel like I have my life together when I wear it. So that is my win for the week, and I cannot wait to hear yours. Also, last thing real quick before we get into the reaction, the last time I saw Milena on social media, she was very heavily pregnant, and I have not seen her post in a while, and so I'm assuming that she's taking time off to either just rest until she has the baby, or she possibly already had the baby. In any case, I wish nothing but the best for her, her family, and their new little one. I hope everything is going well and healthy and safe and happy, and just wishing all of the best things for them. I think most of you know this. I don't wish anything ill on anybody that I talk about, so just because I'm talking about Milena's appearance on the Chiseled and Called podcast, if I give her critique or if I push back on something she says, it's just me pushing back on something that she said or giving a critique. Nothing is ever meant to be hateful or rude or mean. This is just the corner of the internet that I talk about. I talk about self-help and religious influencers and funny influencers more often than not because that's what you guys like to watch. So I just talk about it because that's the content that does well on my channel, and I think I can provide a unique perspective, especially to the religious side of things because I am religious. I'm a Christian, and yeah, so I'm a Christian talking about Christians on the internet, but again, nothing is ever meant with malice or bad intention. I just like talking about this stuff, and it seems like you guys like it too. So just wanted to say that real quick. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Now let's do the reaction.
If you're trying to find a man of God, he's not going to be going after someone who is dressing in a more immodest way.
You're listening to Chiseled.
Okay, interesting little snippet to grab our attention there. We'll talk about it when they get to it.
Called with Brittany Dawn, a podcast about finding freedom in imperfection and peace in your broken pieces through Jesus. Our prayer is that today's message will bless you, embolden you, and fix your gaze on the King, that it will stir up the calling God has placed within you. Without further ado, here's your host, Brittany Dawn.
Welcome to the Chiseled and Called podcast. I am your host,
Hi.
Brittany Dawn, and I am so excited about today's episode, you guys. Even though this one can be a little bit controversial, I am diving into all things modesty today with Melena Cicciotti. We absolutely adore Jordan and Melena. They have quickly become family to us, and we're so grateful to call them friends. And I have no doubt in my mind that today's girl chat is going to bless you, whether you've been considering dressing
I've said this before and I'll say it again. If everybody's your friend, nobody's your friend. And Britney is notorious for being like, this person's like family. This person's so close. These are my best friends in the entire world, about people she met like a month ago. Sure, like I think you can click with somebody and get along very well just like right off the bat, but that doesn't mean you're like family. That doesn't mean you have that like close-knit connection where if you guys disagree on something or you get into a fight, you're going to be able to work through it and then be like, all right, we disagree, or you hurt my feelings, but we're cool because we love each other and we're not going to let that ruin the friendship, right? Like that doesn't mean that if an emergency happens, they're going to be the person you call and the person that you're able to rely on. Those aren't necessarily going to be your people for life. It's just somebody that you click with and somebody that you get along with. I know it's not that serious, but whenever Britney says something like that, I just want to be like, well, no.
more modest way, or maybe you already are. So without further ado, let's hop in. Welcome to the podcast, Melena. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
So good. I'm so excited. This has been a long time coming. We've been chatting about this for a hot minute and it's finally happening. So yeah, I'm just excited to share like your story with our audience, with my audience, because I'm sure most people know who you are, but if they don't, they're going to love who you are and they're going to love everything that you stand for.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. I love your podcast. I'm always so encouraged. Tori and I always send them to each other. She's like, listen at this point. Listen at this point. I'm like, okay.
Oh, wow. It's like a triangle. We're always sending, because I'm always sending like your podcast to Jordan because like you guys talk about family things. And I'm like, when we're parents one day, like I want to do this with our kids.
Yeah.
And then Tori's podcast, I feel like I'm always sending to like friends too. And so that's so funny that you said that. But for anyone that doesn't know you, why don't you tell them like just a little bit about yourself and what you do and what you guys stand for?
Sure. So
that's interesting to me because I just don't feel like Melena would relate to a lot of the things that Britney talks about on her podcast. I don't know. Maybe she does like the girl chat ones where they do the Q&As, but a lot of the ones about like marriage struggles or being in a waiting season or being a single girl, I'm like, I don't necessarily think Melena would need Britney's content relating to that. You know, Melena's been married to her husband a lot longer than Britney and Jordan have been married, so I don't know. Maybe she finds tons of value in it and she loves it, but that's interesting.
I am on social media. I started 7 or 8 years ago at this point. I started on YouTube, and then I had a video go viral, and then it's been like what I've done ever since. And that has drastically evolved and changed. I have 3 littles right now, and I'm pregnant with our 4th. I miscarried earlier this year, so it's weird like saying like I'm pregnant for the 5th time, but it's our 4th baby. Like, I still feel like I stumble on my words sometimes, like, as I try to say that. But my husband and I were high school sweethearts. We got married 6 years ago. Is that right? I think so. Yeah. I think it's about to be 7 in the summer. My brain, it just doesn't work.
Pregnancy brain.
Yeah, it's such a real thing. Like, it's funny because you hear people say that and you're like, no, it's not. And then you experience it and you're like, wow, you like literally will have brain farts, and like it just doesn't process. So yeah, we have a podcast together, me and my husband. It's called Ask For Me My House, which is where we share a lot of our convictions on like biblical convictions on parenting and marriage, and just encouraging and being a light in this very, very dark world that we live in.
Yeah. No, I love everything that you guys stand for, especially like you said with parenting. It's just, there's never been a time more than now, more than this world that we're living in, that is such a needed message.
Yeah.
And just the way that you guys speak your convictions with such love and such gentleness, I think that's just, it's so good. And I think that is why so many people look up to you guys and listen to that, to your podcast and everything that you guys share. Yeah. One thing that I have personally loved seeing.
Okay, 2 things. First, I feel like parenting has always been a really important thing. Like, it's always been difficult and it's always been important to talk about, but I'm thinking that she's probably saying that because she's leaning into like wokeism angle of like everything's chaos, everything's crazy. They're putting litter boxes in the kids' bathrooms at school for the furries. Like, that's why she's saying it, instead of being like, you know, parenting has always been super important and it's always been just like massively influential in the way that your children turn out, because you are their role models. You are the person who is showing them what's right and what's wrong and how to function and how to be like a contributing member of society. And so parental responsibility has always been a massive thing, and I love how you guys approach it, and I love that you guys talk about it and focus on that, you know, instead of it just being like a compliment to Melena and Jordan. It's, I don't know, not even a dig. It's saying something nice to them to further an agenda of wokeism, bad, the world is chaos, but the world's always been crazy, and that's why parents are important. So that's just my thought on that. And then secondly, Melena said that she's been on YouTube for like 7 years, but it's interesting because she recently deleted or privated, maybe unlisted them, I don't know, everything prior to a year ago. The oldest video on her YouTube is I've been avoiding this ... modesty. And that was posted on December 2nd of 2022. I want to know why she deleted that stuff. Maybe they'll talk about it. Maybe there's a reason that I've been avoiding this. Modesty is the oldest video she left on here. Maybe it's like a strategic thing. I don't know. Britney, are you going to ask her about it? Because I would love for you to do that, because it's just an odd choice. Melena wasn't posting anything bad prior to that. I obviously didn't watch like all of her content, but when I decided to start covering her on my channel, I went back and I watched a few of her older videos from when she first started, and then like one from each year up to now. And she always talked about God and church, and she would include Bible verses in her videos. So I don't know what the thought behind deleting those was, but she did.
and it's even inspired me and encouraged me in different areas, is your modesty transformation. Oh my gosh. Like watching the Lord work through you and then like using your story and your testimony of this to encourage other women to start letting go of like these worldly things has been so beautiful, so like just incredible to watch, right? Because we live in a world that is so like, I mean, you look at the beauty industry and that alone is just, there's so much money being made for this reason and that reason. And yeah. So would you just like share a little bit about what that has been like for you? And we can kind of go off on modesty because there's so many different, I guess, areas that we could speak to about this. But I would love to just hear kind of what like spurred the start of all of that.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I never envisioned myself being one to like dress modest in any, I mean, okay, so let me back up a little bit because in my head, I was dressing somewhat modest. Like, you know, I remember like there would be videos that I would do where I would literally title it like modest, blah, 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 blah on YouTube. And I'd be wearing a crop top or like really small biker shorts or something. In my mind, I was like, well, this is modest. Like compared to what other people are wearing where they're wearing like bras and like panties out, this is more modest. And so yes, in one sense, sure, it was a little bit more modest than the girl next door, but it still was it was revealing a lot more than it was concealing. And so, I mean, I was dressing very much so like crop tops, like croppy top tops. Like I was looking at my pictures from like 2 years ago, and I would wear like there was this one thing that I had from Amazon. And it was like a side. It was like a off the one shoulder, but it was like a bandeau. And I'd wear that all the time with biker shorts. And I was like pregnant. And so like there's just so much skin showing and exposed. And I just thought it was so cute. I loved like the streetwear style. Like that's just what I really enjoyed. And so my heart was never really set on being modest. But after I had my third baby, I slowly started removing and like simplifying my life. And one of the first things I did was stop getting my nails done. And I had always had my nails done. I got them done every like 6-ish weeks. Like I loved having acrylics, or I don't even remember what I used to do. Like I'm pretty sure I did like acrylic, and I always had like puffy bunny or funny bunny or whatever. I always had my nails done. And that was like
what are those? What is puffy bunny or funny bunny? Longtime watchers of the channel will know that I consistently use glue on nails or at-home gel depending on the day. I've not been, like, I haven't gotten my nails done at a nail salon in years. What is that? That sounds very interesting.
Thing that I used to do as a mom, but after I had my third baby, I was like, I just like, don't want to make time for this anymore. I'd much rather do something else.
That's fair.
And so I stopped getting my nails done. And then I felt convicted about Botox and lip filler. And then I got convicted, like it was like one thing led into another. And so although it didn't start with modesty necessarily, it kind of led into that, which is so interesting. And I love using the word journey, because I think people need to realize that it is a journey. There for some people, sure, they like wake up one day and never want to wear a crop top ever again, never want to wear super short shorts ever again, and like do this whole 180. But for a lot of people, it is such a journey. And even photos from like 6 months ago, the way that I've dressed looks different. And so I love the word journey because I think it's encouraging, because I'll see some girls post online like that they want to dress more modestly, and I go to the comments and everyone's like, this isn't modest. And it's like, for her, that one outfit choice was one step into the direction of something that is more modest versus immodest. And so let's celebrate that. You know, like I think that's so good. That's so good.
The tone of Britney's verbal feedback tells me that Melena is sharing a tragedy that occurred in her life right now. Wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. Like she's just talking. She's just having a conversation. Britney does this with guests. She like gets that certain tone in her voice that's meant to be like, wow, I'm really listening. This is really impactful. But it doesn't fit in this particular instance. This tone does not match what Melena is saying. Secondly, let's talk about what Melena is saying. She's saying that she started simplifying her life and feeling personal convictions, and that's what led her to changing the way that she dresses. And personally, I think that the way that she's speaking about it is a little bit more encouraging than I've heard other people talk about it. It's like not necessarily shame focused or like guilt based, but I am thinking about the beginning clip that we heard where she said something about like guys aren't gonna go for girls who dress immodestly. So, you know, we still haven't gotten to that part yet. We're just at the beginning of the conversation.
For her, because from then it's another step, and then it's another step. And then you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't worn a crop top in so long. Or like, you know, I just kept using crop top because that's what I used to just use a lot of. Like my midsection was just always out. And so, yeah, I slowly started feeling more convicted about what I was wearing. And then I really felt convicted because I have a son and I have daughters. And I was like, what kind of example am I setting for my son? What kind of example am I setting for my daughter? Because they're looking at what I wear every single day. And so how is my body and the way that I dress reflecting Christ? Like I was using clothes to glorify and accessorize my body versus letting it reflect Christ and bring glory to him. And so and then that's when my heart really started to change. And that's when I really my heart was just so burdened. I was like, oh my gosh, like I have been dressing in such a lustful way. And my heart was so lustful because, and I mean, I didn't even really think about these things, but until you start concealing or until you do start dressing in a more modest way, you stop thinking about certain things that you once were thinking. So I remember like anytime I wore leggings, I would wonder, like, I wonder what my butt looks like right now. I wonder if my husband likes the way my butt looks, or like, and all. So it necessarily wouldn't be lustful because it was my husband. But then if my husband's thinking that way, what is Joe on the street thinking too? You know, because sure, it's great if my husband is seeing this, but Joe is also seeing it. And so
okay. Do any of you watch Zachary Michael? They do reactions to like Amber Lynn Reed. Sometimes they talk about Sean Paul, Foodie Beauty. And they also talk about Tammy and Amy Slayton, like the 1,000-pound sisters. And Zach was always talking about how they're famously Tammy Slayton apologist. And I feel like I'm a Milena Cicciotti apologist. Like that's what's going through my head, because I don't have a problem with that take. Her saying that the conviction she was feeling about modesty were more related to vanity is something that makes sense. Her saying like, I was so worried about me and what I looked like and drawing attention to myself that I wasn't being worried about reflecting Christ. Like I was being vain and more focused on me than being a model of Christ to my kids. And so that's something that I've talked about with modesty before, is a lot of times I think people misconstrue the heart behind modesty, because when we look at Bible verses, typically the implication of those verses, if we look at the context, is like, don't be so focused on how you look and your appearance that it's like, it's all about me. Look at me. Look at how I look at my appearance. That's kind of where the heart of the issue is, because it shouldn't be about drawing attention to yourself. It should be like your focus should not be on getting as much attention as you can. It should be on Christ. And if you're a Christian, it should be on that. That should be your focus. You know, it's totally okay to want to look cute. It's totally fine to want to present yourself in a way that makes you feel good about how you look and makes you feel like confident in your appearance. You're like, okay, I look good today. Great. it's one thing being like, I feel good in what I'm wearing, and it's a whole other thing to be completely focused on your appearance and how you look and wondering if your husband's looking at your butt and if he likes what he sees. And if that's where somebody is at, where it's like, I am just way too concerned about this, then yeah, maybe they do, especially as a Christian, want to be like, is my heart posture correct? Like, do I need to maybe refocus my priorities because I am way too focused on one thing, and maybe that attention and that like effort could go somewhere else.
So I kind of had to really work with this in a way that I didn't even realize was a heart issue. And then once the Lord really changed my heart posture, then it was just like an overflow into my actual wardrobe. And then I remember I had slowly, so again, this was like a journey for me because I originally went in and kind of got rid of like all the bandeaus. So I did like the bandeaus. I did like a sweep of things, you know, kind of got rid of like the things that were like overtly very like no matter what you did to it, it couldn't be made modest, because there are definitely outfits that can be made modest. So I eliminated the ones that just were unsalvageable. And then probably like a month or two later,
that's a bit extreme. Unsalvageable.
Went through it again, and then I would go through it again and again, and then I became more conscious and more aware of what I was purchasing to replace. And again, that takes time too. And it has been a journey, and I personally have really enjoyed wearing dresses. Now, this is a whole nother conversation. We don't have to get into this because I feel like,
oh, I'm up for whatever.
Okay, I feel like people are like, oh, if you like, you can wear jeans. I'm like, yeah, you can. I literally can't wear jeans right now because I'm pregnant. So like, I'm not going to. You know, like
jeans don't sound comfortable when you're about to have a baby.
No, and honestly, they're not comfortable even when I'm not pregnant. You know, like,
yeah,
I have just my style has changed, and so like with that, I've had to figure out what is my modest style, because it looks different. Like you totally can dress modest and like still do street wear, but like I really like cottage core style and like more feminine, and so that's just what I've kind of gravitated towards. And it's also been like this veil lifted of vanity too, because I just walk into my closet and I pick out whatever I see, because I mainly wear dresses. So I literally just pick out a dress and then I move on. Whereas before I felt like I spent so much time like, does this top look good with this? Or does this look good with this? And it was just such an emphasis on my appearance. Whereas now it's like, I'm just going to put this on and then we're moving on with our day, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just been so freeing. I think that's been the biggest thing, like not having to worry. And I don't know, it's really changed my life in a way that I never thought it would. And I think until you experience that freedom, it's kind of hard to understand, or like, I don't know, it sounds bizarre, but again, when the Lord just really worked on my heart posture, and the patterns and ways that I was thinking subconsciously that I didn't even realize, when I repented, I was like, oh my gosh, Lord, like this whole time I've been drawing and bringing such glory to my body. Like,
wow.
Oh, this is not like, this is not how you intended it.
Wow.
And
okay, so this is an interesting conversation, because when we hear modesty, like most of us are probably thinking about the way that it is typically talked about, which is like not showing skin, not showing cleavage, not wearing short shorts, not wearing tank tops, like the way that we hear a lot of other people talk about modesty today. But I feel like Milena's kind of going back and forth from having a modest mindset, and like the thing that got me, she said, like, it's so simple. I just open my closet, I grab something, and I put it on, and it's very freeing. And to me, I'm thinking, I bet that it is. You have 3 kids, you're a content creator, you're a wife, you've got a lot going on, and I can just imagine that if you're sitting there trying to like craft an outfit that you think is going to draw attention to yourself, and like you want it to look a certain way, that's going to take time, that's going to take effort, and that's something that is drawing attention to yourself instead of the priorities that you want to make important in your life. So if you can just, if you like the dresses and you've got your dresses and you just open up the closet and you grab one and you go, that is so much simpler. But then we did also hear her talking about how much skin was being shown and getting rid of certain pieces of clothing because they were just unsalvageable, and keeping things that she could turn into modest outfits. And it's like, okay, well, those are two different mindsets. It's like, am I in a modesty mindset of I'm not trying to dress for the world to draw attention to me? Or is it like I'm not trying to show skin because if I'm showing skin, then I'm being immodest and I no longer think that that's okay? We've got kind of two conflicting mindsets, in my opinion, because if you're in Arizona, it's hot like a lot of the time. And so you could take that same principle of Melena with her dresses and have a dress that is like above your knees, or you could have a bunch of dresses that are above your knees, and you could just say like, well, this is my style now. I just want something simple. I want to grab it and go. But in that person's case, if they live in Arizona and they have short dresses as part of their grab and go wardrobe, is that modest? Because they're showing more skin, but they're also not focusing on styling and putting stuff together and spending a lot of time and attention on that, which I don't think there's anything wrong, again, with like wanting to look nice in general. But as a Christian, if it's become such a big focus, then that can be something that you might want to just look at and see if you spending your time on that, as much time as you are spending on it, aligns with your priorities. But anyway, like, would that be a modest thing? Would she consider that to be modest? Or if you have like a tank top romper and you've got 10 of them and it's just like, this is what I wear, this is what I grab and I go. Because your mindset isn't of drawing attention to yourself. It's the mindset of simplicity and focusing on other things as opposed to how you look to the outside world, right?
So it's been really encouraging to follow other women online. Like that would be my biggest tip. Like I remember I had to unfollow or like mute a lot of people who dress immodestly because I found that anytime I saw that, I'd be like, oh, that's a cute outfit. I want to wear something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it was influencing my subconscious. But when I started seeing women who were dressed modestly, I'd be like, oh, that's really cute. Like I want to wear something like that. And so it was honestly for me just seeing how you can dress modestly and still look cute. Because I always thought if you want to dress modest, you got to put a potato sack on because there ain't no other way to do it, you know? Like
that's what they make it sound like. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But there's so much variety and there's so much it just, you can find the style that you like in a way that still glorifies the Lord, but you still feel like you have character and we're not all just dressed in potato sacks, you know?
Yep.
And so it has been a journey and it's been really fun and I've really enjoyed it. And I'm just thankful for the Lord's grace. Like, it's the biggest thing is like how gracious he is. And it's been really beautiful to see and witness other girls want to dress more modestly too. And it's like one thing that I was under the impression of is like, when you dress more modestly, everything about you is more modest. Like, I feel like even the way that I bend over or the way that I like just kind of present myself. Cause I was talking to a friend and she's like, you can be with a turtleneck on and you could be so seductive and so lustful that like, it doesn't matter if we can't see a square inch of your body. And that's very true. That's why I think we need to make sure that our hearts are changing, that it's a modest heart towards the Lord, because you can dress modest all day, but still have a very lustful presentation or attitude or heart. And so it's not like sure, you can like dress super modestly, but it's not a one, does that make sense? Like it's not one, it's like multi-layered thing. Sorry, I just talked for so long.
No, I love everything. You said so many good takeaways. I'm like, I need to listen to this again and take notes because it's so good. And I'm sure you know, but like I've been on my modesty journey. And one thing that you said that really struck a chord for me was how when you post about like, because I've posted about my modesty transformation several times over the last few years, and the comment section of like, this isn't even remotely modest. And I'm like, but like, do you see where I came from? Like, I mean, I totally resonate with like the crop tops. Girl, I don't think I had a single not crop top in my closet. Like everything I wore was just cropped, super short, super tight, like very revealing. And I literally cringe when I go back and look at my old photos because I'm like, I can't believe that I wore that. One, in public, but two, that I even thought that this was like doing myself any favors, you know? And there's always the comments of like, well, I'm dressing that way because it makes me feel good. And I was like, I actually, looking back, when I reflect on dressing in a somewhat provocative way, the way that I was, like, I don't think I was more confident. If anything, I was more self-conscious because I was curious, like,
about it.
Yeah. I was so in my head.
That's the freedom. That's like what I mean when I say freedom. It's like the freedom of not being worried about what you're actually really looking like. And it's been really
well, and that may be true for Britney, is like when I was dressing the way that I used to dress, I was self-conscious and I wasn't confident, but somebody else could dress in a similar way or in the very same outfits that Britney used to dress in, and maybe they're doing it for function, for ease of their day. Maybe they are very into fitness. Maybe they're teaching fitness classes all day, and so it's like, well, let me just throw on some spandex and let's roll. That just because you felt self-conscious at that time and you were, I don't know, dressing in a way that you would consider to be immodest because you were hoping for validation and you were hoping for positive attention, doesn't necessarily mean that that's everyone's experience.
really interesting going through a pregnancy, dressing more modestly, especially because a lot of my dresses and stuff are more poofy, that sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, this bump is growing, it's getting big, you know?
Yeah.
It's just kind of more concealed. And so I haven't really noticed the weight gain, or like I haven't really been self-conscious of like certain things that I remember being very self-conscious about because it was revealed multiple times, you know?
Yeah, that's so beautiful, because I feel like that alone just sets someone free, because there's probably someone listening to this that's pregnant and she's seeing her body change. And, you know, I didn't really get to experience that, but like from the little bit that my body was changing, I can only imagine being 4 or 5 months down the road.
Right.
And it's your first pregnancy and you're like, wait, like, what do you mean nothing fits? Like that could really get to your head if you're not careful. And I love that you like wear dresses all the time. Literally, I have bought so many maxi dresses like last summer and like going into the fall, and I don't wear them all the time because I also resonate with your street style. Like I would say that's more mine too. I'm a sneakerhead kind of girl.
You can totally wear a maxi skirt with sneakers.
Yes.
Like
yes.
There's so many, like, that's the thing, like modesty can be done in so many different styles. It's just a matter of like kind of searching for it a little bit more than, you know.
Yeah. And I will say this, like, I don't know if this is how you feel, but when I look back at like how I used to dress 5-6 years ago versus now, I feel like I have tenfold more style now. Like in my, like actually trying to dress in a way that glorifies the Lord.
Yeah.
Cause you get to like, you can wear layers, you can wear cardigans, you can wear than I did back then. And it's like, because I wasn't dressing for style back then, I was dressing for vain reasons of trying to show off my body, and the tighter the better and the shorter the better. And I'm just like, wow, it's actually been really fun. I can't tell you how many times I've actually been on Pinterest and I've Googled modest outfits and like yours has popped up. And I'm like, hey, I know that girl. But it's just like so fun getting to really like to encourage anyone that is wanting to start trying to change the way they dress. Like it can be fun.
Yeah.
Like you get to like have fun with it and get a new wardrobe.
It doesn't have to happen overnight, and you don't have to spend thousands of dollars either, because like when I did, like I slowly removed like the things that just could not be made modest. But then after that, like I went on Amazon and I found like really affordable midi dresses that were like very comfortable, super cute. And I just like rotated through those. And then I slowly started getting more dresses that were like better made, better quality and things. And at that point I had already established like the cuts and the fabrics and the styles that I really liked. And so anything that did come into my closet, I was obsessed with. And then it just made it so much easier. I've noticed that my consumerism has decreased a ton since dressing more modestly, because the qualifications for an item to enter my closet are a lot higher. Like the standard is really high. And
I don't know about that because Melena's been known to post an Amazon affiliate link every now and then, but maybe she's not actually buying those things that she's promoting. She's just saying, hey, I like these, and if you like my style, feel free to use this link.
And so I've also enjoyed that too, because I didn't realize that that was an issue that I was really having, especially just being an influencer. Like, you always kind of have to have like the best thing, and like people want to see new outfits and things. So it's been really nice to be like, I thrifted this, or they don't sell this anymore. You know, I'm sorry. Like, I found this somewhere. Like, you know, it's been really nice to be able to not influence others to consume all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, that's so real. It's so real. And like, yeah, I mean, I would buy the most aimless things off of like Amazon because
Amazon gets you so good.
Yeah, because it looked cute in the moment, and then I'd wear it once and then it would stay in my closet for years. And I was like, oh, I forgot I even had that.
Yeah.
And just the amount of money that I wasted on just silly little items in my closet. And then I remember when I first started getting convicted, that was probably like 4 or 5 months into really walking with the Lord, where I'll never forget, I was standing in my closet one day when I lived in Dallas, and that conviction just hit me. And it was just like this, like my heart just sank, and not in like a condemning way. It was like, I'm dressing in a way that doesn't honor the Father, honor like who literally just saved my life 5 months ago. And I just sat in my closet and I cried and I processed it with the Lord. And then I just started pulling things, and either if they were like really that bad, I trashed them, or if they were like salvageable for someone, like I would just throw them in a Goodwill pile and I would take them to donate. And that was kind of, like you said, like starting the process. That was kind of what it looks like for me too.
Yeah.
Because it's not realistic to go buy an entire new wardrobe the same day. But if you just remove the pieces that are really convicting you at that season and that moment, then like that conviction is only going to continue to grow, like it has with your story. And like, how beautiful to know that God took you on that journey, and he's so gracious too.
Yes. Yeah. I'm very thankful. And
just pausing to throw in the little tidbit that Britney also links a ton of Amazon stuff on her Instagram. Just because a guest says something doesn't mean you have to be like, yes, oh my God, exactly, same, me too. Like, you link a ton of stuff on Instagram. That's fine to link your Amazon stuff. A lot of influencers do it. Totally cool. But don't be like, me too, exactly, when you're pretty frequently listing things for people to buy from you, not even just from Amazon, but also from Hazel and Lane, and being like, buy this is what it looks like. Link, here you go.
Even now, like just like last summer, my convictions are different in this new summer. Like, I remember I was still wearing 2 pieces, and I would wear just kind of like a thing over. But now in this coming up this summer, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, no, I do not see myself wearing that swimsuit that I wore last year. And so it's been fun to even just try to find cute swimsuits, or just try to find and see what I can. There's a lot out there. Like, you'd actually be very surprised. They have really cute modest swimwear out there. So I'm excited for that, and just the journey that the Lord keeps taking me on. And my husband enjoys it too. That's the other thing. I think it's been really fun because it's really spiced up our sex life too, like what you wouldn't really think. But because I am concealed during the day, he like says it's like a gift wrap at the end of the night that he gets to unwrap. And so I feel like it's just so fun because it's like he gets the best and the spicy, and like there's no modesty with him, you know? Like, I feel like that's the other thing is people think like, oh, like you're modest in public, and it's like, yeah, but I ain't modest with my husband. Trust me, not.
That was a Hazel and Lane ad. We're going to go ahead and skip it.
It's not.
Amen. That's so true though, because that's such a good point, because I'm sure there are women that are listening that they want to start on this journey, but they're like, okay, well, my husband likes how I dress. Like, how is that going to affect our marriage, our sex life, our relationship? And so that's like so encouraging to hear. And I think I mean, I don't know. I'm not a dude, but I feel like guys just, they love dresses. Like anytime I'm wearing a
I
dress
have
and Jordan
so
comes
many
home,
stories about that. Yeah.
yeah, he's always like, babe, you look so good today. And I'm like, I just literally like threw on this dress, like
Yeah.
literally 5 minutes of effort, if even that. And he loves it. And so I think it's just like men love dresses.
Yeah.
And that was even like encouragement for me to go get more maxi dresses because I'm so tall. Like a midi dress on me looks like
Oh,
looks like a mini dress.
it's so funny because midi dresses for me are like maxi dresses.
I have to buy the maxi. I have to buy like the full dress. And so I would like go, I mean, it just encouraged me to go get a few more that I liked.
I
And
love
it's
that.
been really fun. Like, just, I even look back, like I was saying, and I look back at like how different, even in the summertime, like
Yeah.
where in Texas, you have every excuse to wear as little clothing as possible because it's 120 degrees outside.
Mhm.
And how it's just completely changed because it's modesty is a heart posture. And I mean, there have been even last summer things that I wore last summer that I'm like, I don't think I would wear that again. And then there's days where I still don't yield to that conviction and I'll wear something and the Lord will convict me of like, why did you wear this? And I'm like, for me, it's been the gym. That has been the hardest part for me.
Literally just about to bring that up because so I have like this section, like we have like a semi walk-in closet, like you literally.
Wait, that was kind of rude. Like, you're just like, oh yeah, I was gonna bring that up. Here's my story. Your skin weight. Melena, that was a little bit rude.
Walk in and like this there, it's not like this giant thing, but I have like on the back of my door all my workout clothes. And going through all of this, I never touched the workout clothes. One, because I wasn't really working out, and so there wasn't really a need for me to like be wearing the workout thing. And I was like, let me just kind of sit on this. And I have kept a majority of the things, but I haven't worn any of them. And that has been the thing that the Lord has been convicting me of, because like when I put tights on or leggings, like I wore leggings because I was doing some house project or something, Jordan would not stop touching me. And so I was like, okay, clearly if like my husband is just can't stop touching me, then obviously then this is he likes this and this is revealing. And therefore if I went out into public, I was like, okay, that was just for me. It was just confirmation that like there's nothing really modest about this. He was like, but what am I gonna wear? Like, what the heck am I gonna wear? Like I always had at Pilates.
Okay, let's be careful with this line of thinking, because this is putting the onus of respecting boundaries and space on the person being touched as opposed to the person doing the touching. Like, it was her husband. I'm sure if she had said, like, I really need you to stop because I'm busy doing something, I would hope that he would respect her and leave her alone. But for her to be like, oh, well, my husband found me attractive in these, he couldn't keep his hands off me, this means I can't wear it in public. It's like, oh no, because other people should be able to control themselves. It does not matter if you're wearing leggings in public. If somebody like, that's gonna make me angry. Because it very much leads into like slut shaming and the mindset of when somebody gets assaulted being like, well, what were you wearing? Were you asking for it with how you were dressed? The way that you are dressed does not communicate consent to being assaulted, no matter what you're wearing. So I just want to nip this in the bud right here. I'm not cool with this line of thinking. The responsibility is on everyone to keep their hands to themselves, okay? Like, point blank, period. That's the end of it. No further discussion needed. Look at that. I made it 28 minutes and 29 seconds without getting really irritated.
It's like the girls always used to like poke fun at me because I had the cutest matching sets. Like I'd always wear sports bras and like matching leggings, and they're like, how many matching sets do you have? I'm like, I love Amazon. If you've gone on Amazon, they have the cutest little matching sets. But at Pilates, that was always like the running joke of like, I always had the cute matching sets. So I was like, I didn't want to get rid of these. But I've recently been looking at, and then I found, I don't know if you follow this lady. Her name's Dear Sister. And she, you would love her.
I need to follow her.
Yeah, you do. You do. She reshared a girl who was stretching, in clothes that was very like concealing. And she was wearing, it was so cute. She was literally just wearing like, I don't want to say they were like pajama pants, but they were like very like loose, like looser than yoga pants, but not too baggy. Like it was just like looked very comfortable, and an oversized t-shirt. And she just looked so cute, but there was like nothing to see. Like it was so like, and I was like, oh, I wonder. So I started searching, and I found that Free People has really cute, like just baggy, because that's the thing. Like I have this like one set from Nothing Fits, but it's like a nursing set. It's literally like for postpartum, but it's just like gauze, nice and flexible, like very loose. And I worked out, I like use it to go to bed, but I worked out in it one day and I was like, oh my gosh, I felt naked. Like it felt so free.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so I've just like this is like what I'm currently walking through. So like my closet is still filled with leggings, but in my mind I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to see how like that transition of wearing like looser pants or sweatpants or just like a baggy shirt or something. And I've seen so many girls on Instagram who dress modestly in the gym, and they just wear really baggy things, and it's just really nice, because I remember when I did used to go to the gym all the time, it is just like butts in your face, like butt.
And it's very like, as someone that like came.
Well, why are you bothered by that? Why are you looking at that? You're at the gym to work out. Mind your business. I'm sorry. I gotta chill. But yeah, like get yourself some joggers and keep it moving. You're okay. You're fine.
From that industry, if you're having like a bad body image day, or you feel bloated, or you don't feel very good in your skin, like it can be a blow to your self-esteem if you walk in a gym and you see that everywhere and you're not feeling good. It's like you're usually not feeling good because you're wearing tight clothes, and it's highlighting everything that you're already feeling and amplifying it. And I've noticed like on the days that I just wear a t-shirt and shorts to the gym and like don't put any thought into it, I literally have the best workouts, because I'm not focused on what anyone's thinking around me. I'm not focused on any of that. I'm not worried that like the guy behind me is staring at my butt, because that is a real thing once you're married. Like you do get convicted over that. And
again, not your responsibility to make sure someone else isn't staring at you. Their responsibility not to stare.
It's completely different. And I'm right there with you. Like I have not gone down that path yet. I do love a cute matching set, and I still wear them. And some days I'm convicted, other days I'm not. It's just, I'm like, okay, Lord, like I know I need to change, but it has been really cool to see the narrative shifting of like even women who aren't walking with the Lord, they're realizing like how uncomfortable those outfits can be. Like I mean, I don't know. I personally, I find a baggy t-shirt or an oversized sweater and over that like covers my butt and leggings or shorts in the summertime, like that is way more comfortable than a tight matching set. That's just my opinion. And so it's really encouraging, like just to hear that you're also on that journey, because it's hard.
I know. And the idea of like weather permitting and weather limiting the way that we dress, I think is just such boo-zoos, because like that was my excuse for so long. And I live in Michigan. It is very cold here, like very cold, snowy, like negatives. And I have worn dresses this entire winter. And I'm not cold. I'm also pregnant. So yes, I do get easier, but like you can still do it. You can still layer. And same with the summer, like fabrics are super important. Don't be wearing a wool dress. A linen dress. Like during biblical times, like they used to wear linen everything. Why? Because it's breathable. You know, like fabrics play a huge part of that too. Like if you're going to be wearing 100% polyester, you're going to be sweating because you're wearing plastic, and it's going to be hot and you're going to smell and it's itchy. But if you wear linen, it's breathable. Air can get through, get a nice little breeze. So there's definitely, I quickly realized that I was allowing things to make up for excuses that just were easy to kind of navigate through.
Yeah, that's so good. I think the last thing that really like just came to mind hearing you talk about like excuses and then like your convictions with leggings is like the women, because I've seen women in my DMs before when I've posted about modesty.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, like, yeah, but how am I going to get a man if I'm trying to cover my body? Like, I don't like a man is naturally attracted to how we present ourselves. And I'm like,
no,
that's.
Do you think that's true? I don't know. Maybe if you're in like high school or college, I could see that mindset of like, oh, I gotta dress a certain way because there's a lot of other girls around me who are dressing in that way. And if I want to be able to compete with them, like I gotta make sure that I'm dressing the same way as them, but I look good so I can catch their attention. But like, I don't know. I think once you're older, that's probably not a concern that you have. If you're like in your 20s or 30s, it's not necessarily something that's not something that I see a lot of people that I know being concerned about, is like, oh, well, let me make sure I'm showing skin so I can catch somebody's attention. I think that that's a very juvenile mindset to have. And so again, like teenagers, yeah, I could see them saying that, but I don't know if those are the people who are following Britney and DMing her about that.
Sounds like you're trying to get them to lust after you a little bit. Personally, that's kind of what I take away from that. And so I would say like, yeah, what would your response be to someone that's single listening to this and they're like, but how in the world would like an attractive man of God find me attractive if I'm covering my body?
He would find you attractive because you're covering your body.
Exactly.
The kind of guy, if you're trying to find a man of God, he's not.
I feel like this is like a fake question.
Going to be going after someone who is dressing in a more immodest way. He is seeking the woman that is more covered. So
okay, Melena, so is Jordan a godly man then? Or are you saying that he's not a godly man because he went after you when you, according to yourself, were not dressing modestly? That's the problem with that answer, is you're implying that godly men go after people who dress modestly, but you didn't dress modestly when you and Jordan got together. So what does that say about him? And I'm not making a judgment about him. He and Melena seem to be happily married. They have a podcast together. She's spoken nicely about him in this episode about how he thinks she's very attractive when she wears her modest dresses because she's unwrapping a gift at the end of the night. That's all fine and good. But come on. Like, this is a fake question set up to give a failure of an answer. I think the real answer here isn't godly men are attracted to modest women. It's that you know your values, and when you're strong in those, you're going to find somebody who aligns with that. And they're going to notice you because you guys are on the same level in a certain sense. No matter what you're wearing, guys are attracted to all different kinds of things. But you're going to know what you want. You're going to exude confidence in those values, and you're going to attract somebody who's attracted to that, who knows what they want and aligns with those, and they're going to see you and recognize that in you.
You would think you would be attracting the opposite of who you're trying to attract.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then
it's so good.
Because it's true. Like my sister and I, we went to the Home Depot one day and we both were wearing white dresses. And we were so modestly covered. Like my dress like came up to like here. And I swear every single man, obviously it's a bunch of men and it's like two girls into Home Depot. And we clearly had no idea what we were doing in there and what we were like.
Yeah, two girls in white dresses walking through Home Depot. I can imagine that people would be like, interesting. People would take notice of that.
But men were so sweet and so nice. And it was like, we were not, you couldn't see anything. You really couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And like, they were just so sweet. And like, it was all the older men and they're like, oh, I miss when women used to dress like this. And it's like,
oh,
it's just different. Like women really didn't dress the way that we dress 50 years ago or so. Like the style has just changed so much. And I definitely see that pendulum getting pushed back. Like it.
Oh yeah.
So it was a bunch of old guys being like, women shouldn't wear pants. Let me help you because you're in a dress.
is. But
Yeah.
I know talking about this can be really hard because I think a lot of people feel shameful, and shame should never be something that we feel. Like there's such a difference between feeling conviction and a call to be what the Lord wants us to be versus just sitting there in shame and basking in it. Like never
Oh.
once in this moment did I sit in shame. I feel like I definitely sat in a moment where I was like, oh my gosh, but it was like, I can't believe this, like God's grace. Like that's what I just felt, was like his grace being like, you are my daughter and I love you so much. You know, like not once did he shame me for the way that I was dressing. He was just so happy and excited of the new way that I was going to dress. So I know it's hard to talk about modesty because a lot of people just take it the wrong way, or people like, I've never once said that you can only wear dresses and skirts, and people will be like, there's other ways to dress modest. I'm like, I know. I know. You can wear jeans. Like, 'cause there are some people who their churches like only say they can wear jeans, and like that's not, I'm probably the only one wearing a dress in my church. Like that's not the type of church that I go to, but I know some people who have, and some people are like, well, this is just so toxic. I'm like, it may be toxic.
That's really interesting. I've never heard of a church that says you can only wear jeans. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Toxic to you, and maybe you grew up in a, like maybe to you freeing, you experienced freedom from not wearing dresses and skirts, but I'm experiencing freedom from wearing dresses and skirts. And so we can't sit here and just like, that's not doing anything. I'm just sharing what I personally enjoy and the style that I like. You can be encouraged by it, or you can find a way that suits your style that you really enjoy too. Like it's just because I dress this way doesn't mean you have to too, or that, I don't know. I feel like people fill in so many lines, and it's like, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
They do. They fill in lines and they jump to conclusions. Cause like when I've posted about it, people, you can just tell in the comments, they're either feeling attacked or they're feeling like shameful.
No.
And I'm like, whoa. Like I'm just sharing my personal story. This is my personal journey. These are my personal convictions. And like it is so beautiful when you look at the body of Christ and you look at women who are on this journey of how everyone dresses so different. That's what's so cool. And it's such like beautiful confirmation that convictions are different. Like you wear dresses all the time. I'm like, I love a good pair of jeans. But I'm also starting to learn to love dresses even more. And so it's been like really cool just seeing how you can dress so differently, but all dress in a way that honors the Lord. And I applaud you. I'm so proud of you for speaking so boldly on this, especially with like, you know, the Botox and the fillers, and because those are.
Okay, this is what I was going to ask about, because they mentioned it in the description box, and then Melena said that she stopped getting Botox and fillers, but we know that Britney does get Botox, and so I'm like, are we going to chat about that? Because we've spent, 20 minutes talking about Melena wearing dresses, which I think has provided some valuable talking points and stuff that we can address together, but I would like to hear more about the difference in opinion there of, because I think that's a little bit more of like an amped up topic, like wearing jeans versus wearing dresses. Yeah, they're different clothing items, but they both agree like, oh yeah, those are totally fine. Like this is just my preference. But as far as Botox goes, like I would love to hear a more in-depth conversation on that.
Very real conversations that the beauty industry is capitalizing on our insecurities and on our the way that we naturally age. Like age is biblical. Like we are called to age. And I think it's so beautiful too, because it just shows that much wisdom like in that person.
Proverbs literally says that.
I don't think I've ever heard that phrase. Biblically, we are called to age. All right, that's a new one. Would love to hear some elaboration on it.
Gray hairs are like the crown of wisdom. Or some.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Literally, I have my Bible with me, or else I'd pull it out because I remember I put a crown. I drew a picture of a crown.
Oh,
gray hair.
I love it.
Round.
It's so, and it's just like there's so much pressure to hide those and cover wrinkles. And I'm preaching to the choir, like just there's so much pressure as women these days. And so I just think it's so beautiful that you have yielded to those convictions and you've also vocalized them. And the world needs that. The world so needs that right now.
Well, praise God. I have just like a little encouragement to anyone who has. So one of the things about as I've started on this journey is that I have friends who don't share the same convictions as me and will ask me about certain outfits because they just know. And so they'll ask me like, oh, like, should I wear this? And I'm like, I think we could wear this instead. Like it's been interesting to see how my friends like ask of things. And my biggest encouragement is to actually not call out another sister because it's different judging. Because I know, people, the Bible does tell us to judge. And it's like, okay, with discernment, okay?
Yeah.
With discernment, because I've noticed that people get really prideful and it's like you're speaking from your flesh out of correction, not the Holy Spirit's prompting. And so you're actually going to do more damage than you are good. And now this person is back 5 steps versus up 3 steps. So you need to be cautious here that it's not your pride that's overtaking and thinking that you're holier than thou. So I've noticed
that is a good point. Just in general, I think it's very easy for Christians to think that the way that they operate is like the correct way and to lean into judging other people who do things differently or be like, well, actually, I don't think you should do that. Actually, I think you're wrong. Actually, Jesus said this. Like, I think it's very, very easy to be prideful and be like, well, let me tell you what's up because you're doing something wrong and I know the right way to do it. So I appreciate that Melena drew attention to being like, you don't always have to correct somebody. Like you don't always have to say something or place a judgment. And maybe that seems a little bit silly for me to say as I'm making this video, sharing my thoughts on the things that they have said. But I appreciate that Melena said that and like making sure you're keeping yourself in check of like, is this a prideful thing that is it a pride thing where I'm feeling like I know better and I can tell you what's up and that's why I'm trying to say something to you, or am I speaking with discernment?
That not saying anything is actually the best thing, and praying that the Holy Spirit convicts is the best thing to do. Continue dressing how you feel the Lord is calling you to dress and convicting you. Let that be a model and a representation, and then pray for them.
Yeah.
Don't sit here and tell them they need to change out their whole wardrobe, because my sister did that to me. My sister did that to me 2 years ago. And I remember being like irritated and be like, no, I don't want to do that. But then she started praying for me and wouldn't say anything unless I asked her. I'd ask her like, hey, Melanie, like, do you think like, she'd be like, I think if you wore this, it would be a little bit better. And so then I would. So she would only speak and say something when I asked. But then other than that, she was silently praying. And I attribute a lot of my modesty journey to my sister, who was secretly praying for me for the last 2 years.
Wow.
And I didn't know until she was like, yeah, I've literally been praying this for 2 years. And I'm like, wow.
Wow. That's so powerful.
Let the Holy Spirit do the working and the convicting, because that's not our job. Like we will offend, and we like, where are you coming from? Are you coming from a place of love? Because then you will trust that the Holy Spirit will do the thing and the Lord will do his thing. If not, then you think that you have power and control to do that, and you're just going to offend. And I've just seen that it's not productive.
Yeah. Amen. It's not our job to convict. It's our job to love. And that's with anything in life, in this walk with the Lord. That's so beautiful. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Melena, for sharing your heart. Wow. There's so many takeaways. It sounds silly, but I can't wait to like listen back and actually take notes on my own episode. Cause I'm like, this is just it's been a journey. It's been a huge thing in my life. So I'm like, there's so much that you could learn from yours. And where can everyone find you if they don't know who you are already?
Yeah, you can find me at MILENA CICIOTTI on Instagram and on YouTube. And then we have a podcast that's As For You, My House, on anywhere that you podcast.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
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 What an encouraging episode, you guys. I hope that this spoke to your heart. I really hope that if you've been in a season of feeling convicted in any way that we discussed, maybe you're like me and you're starting to feel convicted about leggings at the gym, or you're starting to feel convicted about certain crop tops that you're wearing to the gym, or maybe you're just feeling convicted overall about completely changing your wardrobe in a way that honors and glorifies the Lord. I hope today spoke to your heart. I know it did me, even as someone who has been on this modesty journey for a few years now. And if you know of my story or know of my testimony at all in that realm, it has been pretty crazy. We're not there yet. We're not fully done. I truly believe that modesty is a process. And I believe that sanctification is a process. Just like we talked about in today's episode, it's not an overnight fix. You don't wake up and suddenly you're a completely different person. Can you? Absolutely. But in my opinion, I think the most beautiful journey is when the Lord takes you on that journey. He holds your hand and he walks with you on that journey together, hand in hand. So I said hand a lot. That's okay. I truly hope that this blessed you guys. I hope that this left you feeling encouraged, not alone. I hope you didn't feel any shame in any of the conversation, just like we talked about before we closed out. There is no shame. That is the beauty of this. There's no right or wrong way. Modesty looks different to different people. Some people are convicted over Botox and fillers, while others might not be convicted over that, but they're convicted over wearing leggings to the gym. And that's okay. Conviction comes in different waves at different times in different ways. And once you realize that, you stop comparing yourself to every other woman that's walking with God, and you focus on what God is asking you to do in this season.
It's interesting that she made the comment about conviction coming in different ways and different waves, and everyone being on their own journey and having their own convictions, and how you shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people because everyone's at different spots. It just gives the impression that everyone should be on a modesty journey of some kind. No matter where you're at on your modesty journey, that's fine, but everyone should be on one. And if you're not, it's because you haven't been convicted of that yet, which I don't necessarily like. I do agree that the overall tone of the conversation, probably in large part because of Melena's attitude, was not to be like judgmental of others. It's like, this is just what I'm doing, this is what I'm sharing and what I've experienced in my life and with my friends. But then Britney adding that part at the end, it's like, oh, okay, so overall the tone didn't necessarily feel judgy. There were some parts that I definitely took objection to, of course, but overall I was like, okay, like I see where they're coming from on these points. And then when Britney added that part at the end, I was just like, oh, like it made me like pause and kind of lean back and be like, So everyone should be on a modesty journey, and if they're not, it's just because they haven't been convicted yet. Like that's what I felt the messaging was. But maybe I'm just taking it wrong. Anyway, that was it. That is the end of Melena's appearance on the Chiseled and Called podcast. You'll have to let me know what you thought of it, how you felt about the conversation. Anything you want to share with me, you can leave it in the comment section down below if you are watching on YouTube, or in the Q&A section for this particular episode if you are listening on Spotify. And while you are doing that, if you would consider liking this video or subscribing to my channel, that would be incredible. And if you've done any of those things already, thank you so much. I am so appreciative of you, and I love being able to just sit here, hang out with you, and talk about whatever. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Please be kind to people, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.